folks, and welcome to this week's episode of the new video Legal Beagle podcast. So now not only do you get to hear me, you get to see me. And I think for some of you, that is not a good thing. Let me show you the setup because I haven't been able to do this because we hadn't had video component, but look at that. Just lined it up right at the dining room table. That's what you got to do when your wife commandeers your office. So I was looking at some of our stats because I track everything, and we're over 85 episodes into the Legal Beagle podcast. This started back in August of 2018, and to be honest, I didn't think it would last longer than a month, and here we are over 2 years later. We'll probably finish out the year at over 100 episodes, and people keep listening. We have listeners all over the world. We have a listener in Denmark. That's probably because I ran with an elite runner named Christina Madsen from Denmark, and she occasionally will listen to this podcast. So we have international listeners on this podcast. But the whole idea of this podcast has always been to make a topic that is, a topic that is rather dry, a little bit more interesting and enjoyable to listen to, because if you're going through a personal injury claim, it's everything but enjoyable. It's stressful and frustrating and depressing and painful. So if you're listening to this and you're not going through a personal injury claim and you just want to know a little bit more about how this all works, and we've had a ton of guests on over the years and we'll continue to do that. And now that we have this video component, it just steps up our game a little bit more. So let's get into this week's topic. This week's topic is about case value. And this is something that we deal with a lot because everyone wants to know what their case is worth. I want to debunk a couple of myths from what you may see out there on Google. Myth number one: there is no calculator that can effectively give you a case value. They do not exist. They are a fabricated or concocted idea by attorneys looking to attract business. That's just honest. And frankly, if you're listening to this and you're an attorney who has one, then you should probably take it down. That's my opinion. We have someone coming up to the house. The dogs are about to go bananas right now. But that's myth number one. Myth number two: the insurance industry has a sophisticated software that can tell you exactly what your case value is. That's wrong. They do have sophisticated softwares that do their best to try to... See, there go the dogs right there. Working from home. It's good times. They do their best to try to limit what the insurance companies pay out on claims. They're not there to give you a case value to your benefit, meaning they're not there to tell you what your case is actually worth so that you can make sure that you're resolving your claim for a fair amount. They're there to help the insurance company save money. Now, diving a little deeper into that, we have found through our experience that there are insurance companies that actually incentivize their adjusters to try to get you to resolve your claim for less than what it's actually worth. And what I mean by that is the insurance company may set the case value. It's a range according to their software programs. It's never an exact number. They may set it at $10,000. And that may be the low, and then they may say the high end is $15,000. There are insurance companies that are incentivized to get you to accept the $10,000, and adjusters that are given bonuses for doing that, which is just shameful. It's embarrassing to insurance companies because you're now taking someone's life and someone's injury, and you're turning it into a bonus system for the adjusters that are handling those claims. I don't know how you reconcile those two things. And if you're an adjuster who has worked for an insurance company and you've been incentivized to drive down the value of claims, feel free to call me and let's get you on this podcast and let's talk about why you think that's a legitimate business practice. I doubt I'm going to get any calls. So here's the reason that I think case value is so hard to determine. It's based on the individual. They are called personal injury claims for a reason. They are personal to you, the person who has been injured. And I'm really trying to avoid the word victim because I think the word victim has all sorts of connotations that are not beneficial to you, the claimant, the plaintiff, the person that was hurt. And so I really try to avoid saying that because victim has the connotation that you have no choice. And although you may not have had any choice in getting hurt, you have a lot of choices in how you respond to that and how you try to recover and get back to some sort of normalcy or create a new normalcy for yourself. And we'll talk about that on another podcast. But for the purposes of case value, the person who's injured has injuries that are specific to them. And I don't mean just medical injuries that you can say, well, they hurt their neck, other people hurt their neck. How different are those injuries? They can certainly be different, but it's above and beyond that. It's not just that their neck injury isn't any different. It's that their general damages may be entirely different. And let me unpack that for a second. For those of you that probably don't understand the difference between the damages that we as attorneys may put forward in a personal injury case, there are essentially two types. There are special damages, which are medical bills and lost wages, things that you can use documents and evidence to prove. And then there are general damages, which are your pain and suffering, your anxiety, your frustration of having to deal with this entire process, depression, PTSD, all the things that come along with that. And those damages can also include damages into the future, right? If you're needing ongoing treatment. And so those damages, those general damages, are very unique to the person who was hurt. If you like to do a certain activity, let's say you like to water ski, and because of an injury that you suffer in an accident, you no longer can water ski. Well, that doesn't resonate with me because I've never water skied. I think I actually tried once and I hurt myself. Not like bad, but like I like ate a lot of water when I went face first. I was not a good water skier. So I don't like, that doesn't register with me. I don't think of water skiing as a big loss because I don't personally water ski. Someone who water skis and really enjoys that activity would think that's a big deal, right? I like to run. That's no secret. If someone wasn't able to run, I would be very compassionate to that because I would understand what that means to someone because I'm such an avid runner. So the reason that's important to understand is because what resonates with one person may not resonate with another, and that's why these claims become so difficult to calculate. At our firm, we have a Excel tool that I put together to help give ranges for case values based on special damages only. So this would be a situation where you can plug in the medical bills and the lost wages, and then you can look at a range from high to low and an average of what the likely outcome would be if this case was put in front of a jury. That changes based on the state that we're in because we have offices in Arizona, California, and Colorado. Colorado is much more liberal than Arizona. And so the juries are more likely to give larger verdicts than they would in Arizona. So we've compiled all that information into this Excel tool that we built to help us establish that. It's not a settlement calculator. I've never put it on my website. I don't intend to because I don't think it gives off the right impression. But through a discussion and through a screen share or an in-person discussion, I can walk someone through it and explain how it works, and it makes much more sense to everybody. And then they can at least appreciate where the the data is being derived from and why those numbers may be fair and reasonable. But let's say you have a situation where you're not going to try the case based on special damages, meaning you're not going to put those into the trial. You're not going to even show the medical bills. You may show medical records to establish the injuries, but you're not going to show medical bills. That's a choice that the plaintiff has. And if they don't want to, if the strategy behind the trial is let's not show the medical bills because we want to focus more on the general damages, what the person has lost and what's been taken away from them, then you may never even let the jury contemplate your special damages, which means the case tool that we have, the Excel tool, means nothing in those situations. And we would never use that to try to help establish a value. So it is very unique to the person's situation, to what they've been through. And I think it's hard for a lot of attorneys, to be honest, if they're being honest. I think it's hard for them to give you an accurate amount. What all attorneys are trying to do is maximize the recovery to you. But don't misunderstand that statement. Maximizing the recovery to you does not mean getting you more than what you deserve. We look at this because the law says you should be made whole when you've been in an accident. Made whole, look at it like a pie, a whole pie. You should get the whole pie back because you lost all these things. Every slice of that pie is the equivalent of something you lost. Your wages, your medical bills, your pain and suffering, your anxiety, all the things that make up your injury claim are slices. You shouldn't just get 3/4 of the pie back. You shouldn't just get half the pie back. You should get the whole pie back. That's what attorneys mean when they say maximize your recovery. They want to get you the full pie, the whole pie back so that you get a good outcome. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to maximizing recoveries and ensuring that people get the best outcome that they ultimately deserve. And then you have this opposing force of the insurance industry, which is a big, big industry worth billions, if not trillions of dollars. And they are fighting plaintiffs every single day, trying to drive down those averages so that people take less overall. And so it takes patience sometimes. It takes a lot of I don't want to say heart, but a lot of strength to stand up and withstand the attack that you'll be under. I call it an assault that you'll be under from the insurance company, even though you did nothing wrong. And that, I think, blows people's mind. I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I under assault? But there's a reason, and they do it day in and day out. And there's new attacks coming every day. The newest that we've seen in our profession is now the insurance industry is trying to work with third parties or themselves to pay medical bills on the back end or aside from your personal injury claim to drive down case values. Because if you have a $20,000 hospital bill and they can pre-negotiate that down to $10,000, well, they don't have to pay you the $20,000 or give you credit for $20,000. They can just focus on your general damages. And that may be a big, big disadvantage to you when it comes to what your case resolves for. So I would tell you to trust the attorneys that you hire to represent you. Have honest conversations with them. If you get confused or you are disagreeing with what they're saying, ask for clarification. Don't turn it into an adversarial relationship because, frankly, there's enough of that already going on with your case. Lean on them, but talk to them and say, I just don't understand, and help me understand that. And you've got to trust them. You've got to trust that they really are doing their best to try to get you a good recovery. And it isn't unusual in our profession to get attorneys outside of our firm to look at cases without revealing any sensitive information, to get a third-party opinion on whether or not the case value that we're suggesting is what they would suggest. And the reason for that is sometimes we're not always right, and sometimes we miss things, and sometimes experience from others who have dealt with a particular issue may lend advantages to the case. And so we often will do that. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're looking for more than just one attorney's opinion, ask if they've roundtabled it internally with their other attorneys. Ask if they've gone outside the firm and asked anyone else what their opinion is on the case value. These are little things that we've learned. But don't trust those calculators that are out there. Don't go Google what is my case worth, because the information that you get is terrible. And don't rely on the insurance company to ever be honest with you about what your case value is, because they have an ulterior motive, and that is to pay as little as possible so that they can make more money as an insurance company. Which, I've said this from the moment I began working in this area of the law. I think it's interesting that we are mandated by law to have insurance, and all these insurance companies make money on selling insurance premiums to us. But then they also make money on the back end by cheating people that were injured in accident claims and paying them less than full value in an effort to keep more of their money. That's not good business. That's a racket. That's almost borderline racketeering. That is not the way that the system was set up. That is not the intent of our legislators when they mandated auto insurance and the fact that we should all have some level of coverage that protects not only us, but the people that are out there and about that could get harmed by our conduct. It's sad to me that these insurance companies have turned it into a profit center for themselves in the back end. And that's why, frankly, that's why I have a job. And that's why I'm fortunate to represent the people that I do represent. So I hope this was a little helpful for you. I hope you enjoy the video component that we've added to this podcast. If you don't, you can just simply listen to it on the Legal Beagle. Well, it's thelegalbeaglepodcast.com. And you don't ever have to see my face. But if you do want to see my face, you can go to YouTube. The Negretti and Associates channel will begin streaming these podcasts so that you can listen to them and watch them each week. Thanks, guys.